Hi there, welcome back heroes, welcome back to the second part of this PowerQuery versus JavaScript series where I compare JavaScript and PowerQuery M language. So if you're a JavaScript developer and trying to learn Power BI or Excel or PowerQuery in Excel, this is the tutorial to look at. So we already had the first part done, and if you didn't watch that, then I strongly recommend that you do. It was kind of nice part, and I hope to bring the same spirit into this second tutorial as well. So today we'll cover some interesting topics which I'm sure you will use a lot. Namely, we'll talk about objects. Objects, that's how it's called in JavaScript. In PowerQuery it's called records. Then we'll discuss arrays. Arrays are lists in PowerQuery, and probably in the next tutorial we'll take a look at tables. Tables are kind of the most important data type in PowerQuery, and we're slowly but steadily coming to that. Slowly and steadily coming to tables, but let's not hurry so much, because when I started learning PowerQuery, I struggled a lot with with doing really basic stuff with objects, records and lists. So I don't want to rush into anything with this one. So yeah, without further ado, let's check where we left the last time. So I have my JavaScript file, and let me make it just a tiny bit bigger so that you can see better. Unfortunately, I'm not able to make this part bigger, but I learned how to use zoom on a Mac, so if at any point I'll see that it's just too small, then I can use that. And I can see my head is on the way. Anyway, we'll try to work around that. So let's start with objects. Objects in JavaScript are an essential part of JavaScript, as you know. So to create an object, just create a new variable, const, and of course non-capitalized, obj equals square brackets, and then type the property name. So property 1 colon 1, property 2 and then property 3. Let's type in 4. Okay, that works. So how can I do something similar in PowerQuery? I see I already added some spoilers here. Let's not jump into that too quickly. So to create an object or a record in PowerQuery, I go with let me create an obj record in PowerQuery. So to create an object, I have to type obj, that's the name of the variable, then the equal sign, and then this is where the confusion begins. So in PowerQuery, to create an object, you have to use square brackets. So not curly brackets, which we use in JavaScript, but square brackets. Wait, isn't that array in JavaScript? Yes, indeed. That's why I struggled with it so much in the beginning, and I hope you don't struggle with it now that I told you that what this does. So this actually signalizes a record. This creates a record, and now we can put in some properties. And of course, there's some more weirdness here. So to create property, I have to use equals. And let's put in 1, and then I can create property 2 equals 2, and I can just copy the third one from here to here. And let me just replace this column. And yeah, here we go. Now I can return the object using the in statement, which we took a look at in the last tutorial. And now I can click on OK. Cannot, all right, there's one too many comma here, and I can click on OK, and this creates kind of a nice overview of this record. It says record field details. So as you can already see, this is called a field in PowerQuery. So we have created 3 fields. We've named them property, property 2, and property 3, and these are fields. These are properties, but these are fields. And now this might be a lie. This might all as well be keys, but it's okay. Yeah, let's look at let's continue. So now we have created an object. How can I access an object property in JavaScript? Well, that's easy, of course. Let me put down a console log so we can see what's going on. And now I can go with either obj dot and then property. And of course, I can also use obj, and that I'm not sure if that will work. Let's create a string here, obj dot, and instead of dot, I can also do this, like this. So that's fine, and I can do plus, and this should work. Now I can do something similar in, now there's a small difference or a large difference. There is no kind of shorthand way of accessing fields in PowerQuery. Instead, what you have to do is if you want to access, let's say property 2, then I can put down prop2 val equals, and this will be record.field, and I have to provide the name of the object, and I have to provide the name of the property, let's say property 2, as a parameter here. So let me try to return this prop2 val, and I click on OK, and it says 2, which is correct. It's not as convenient as in JavaScript. Unfortunately, I didn't find an easier way to access record properties other than with this function. That's kind of unfortunate, but yeah, let's try to live with that. Then what's the next thing that I can show you? Okay, so to add a new property to an object, I can do in JavaScript, I can do obj dot new prop equals, and let's make it a string, dollars or bird. All right, this is a bird. Okay, let me save that. And now I can do something similar here as well. Now pay attention what will happen. So I will of course create a new variable because that's how we do things in PowerQuery. So obj2 equals record that add field, and then I can enter obj and enter the name of the new property, which will be new prop, and the value of this new property will be bird. And let's try to return this obj now, because we've added a field. It should add a new field here to this obj, right? Well, no. That's what I was really confused with when I started learning PowerQuery as well. Let me just move my face a bit to the side so you can see. Yeah, so let me go back to the advanced editor. I realized you couldn't see the last part, so sorry for that. Let me add a couple more spaces so it's it's better visible here. Okay, sorry for that. I'll have to figure out something better. Anyway, so what happened here? This record.addField function, instead of adding a new property, instead of adding a new field to this obj object, it created a new object, it created a new record with this new property added. So if I go now with returning obj2 and clicking on OK, I have this new property here as well. Well, that's weird, isn't it? Well, yeah, that's just how PowerQuery works. So every I like to call this code, I like to call these variables immutable, but I'm not sure if they really are. Immutable means that you cannot change the variables per se, but so far every function that I've been working with just creates a duplicate, creates a copy of the previous value and returns a new value instead of mutating the previous value. So that's something to pay attention to. Yeah, and that's essentially how you add a field to an object. Next up is how would I go about deleting a field in both languages. So in JavaScript, to delete, let's say I want to get rid of property 3. I can just go with obj and I use the delete keyword for that. So delete obj.property3, and I have this nice IntelliSense here. I'm missing that in Excel for Mac. I believe Power BI and Excel on Windows have IntelliSense, and you can confirm that in comments if you're following from Windows. But yeah, how can I do something similar in PowerQuery? So to create, and this one works really similar. So to the previous one, so there's a similar approach. That's what I wanted to say. So obj3 equals to record dot remove field, and now remove field function does not exist, but what does exist is remove fields. So you can remove many fields at once, but yeah, it also works for just one field. So I can go with obj2. Let's say I want to remove a property from here, and yeah, so record.remove field obj2, and I can type in the name of the property that I want to get rid of, and this will be property 3. Okay, property 3, and now let me try to remove obj3. So I'm expecting to see property 2, and the new prop with this bird here, and let's see if that works. So yeah, luckily for me it does. So it created yet another record, yet another variable which contains this record with property 3 removed. And as you can see, we created quite a long list of variables already. So yeah, we were quite hard working. Okay, so we looked at remove fields. Now the last thing I want to show you with records is how you can do object.keys. So in JavaScript, there's a way to return an array containing all fields, all key names of all the properties of an array, of an object. So I can do const all keys equals to const, and that'll be object.keys. So there's a helper method in the object API, I call it, which returns the keys array. So I can do something similar with PowerQuery, but let me just finish this statement first. So I can return obj here, and this should return me an array of all objects. Let's test this if it works. Console.log all keys. And let's hope I didn't make too many mistakes while I was writing this. So where we are, I believe that's in desktop, node, JavaScript examples. Let's see. All right. So yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. So there's this input from the previous tutorial and something, and this thing that we did in this one. And we also received an array of properties which are in this object. Now we can do something similar in PowerQuery, and we can do that by calling yet another function. Let's create a new variable called all keys, and this one will be equal to record.field names. Record.field names, and I can use this object 3, and I can return this field names, this all keys variable. Let's see, and it gives me a list, which we'll take a look at just in a second, with property 2 and new prop. These are the names of the variables of the fields that I added. So before we go forward, I just wanted to tell you that the list of functions that I reviewed today is far from being complete. So there are a lot of other functions which I did not cover in this small section, and all these functions are working with records. And you can go to PowerQuery tutorial, to PowerQuery API reference, what it's called. You can go to learn.microsoft.com, and there's this PowerQuery M record transform I believe you can just type in PowerQuery M formula language and you get to this page. And there's this functions side, there's this functions subsection where you have all these functions listed, and specifically I'm looking for at record functions here. So there's a whole list of them. So we have record.add field. This is what we looked at. We have record.combine. This is something we did not look at, but it allows you to have two records and just merge them. So record A has fields ABC, and record B has fields Z, Y, Q, let's say, and you can combine these records into a single record with all these properties here. You can read more about it in this documentation. It's really good. It's well written. It has these examples, so it's really nice. Yeah, so more on that later. All right, with records. With records finished, we can finally move at lists. So lists are arrays in JavaScript. It's kind of confusing. Let me just show you what I mean. So we can go back to the to our JavaScript and just create an array, and we can do const r. That's a pirate, and I can create an array just like this, just using these square brackets. And this all looks fine. And I can put in some values. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this gives me an array. And I can just console log it, write out, and put down R, and save that. Run node again, and I receive this array. And this is just an array of values, and I can do various things with it. So I can query how many elements are in an array, of course, by taking a look at r.length. And what else I can do is I can do r.push, and I can specify let's say 6. Okay, and now I can do console.log r. Okay. And now I can save that and run node. So if this is the console log which appeared here, so it's added just another element to this array. This is the standard stuff that you would do in JavaScript. Now let's do something similar in PowerQuery. So going back to the right, clicking on Advanced Editor, and let me move my face around again, so I don't cover the code. Okay, so let's create a list here. List, actually that's not, maybe let's create an array. So r equals to, and let's not forget the comma, r equals to another thing. So to create an array or a list in PowerQuery, you use curly braces. I don't know why did they need to confuse that. Maybe these are just my stereotypes, and not all languages should look the same. That's not the case, but I sure would like if JavaScript and PowerQuery use the same kind of separators or object and array creators. That would be wonderful, but unfortunately it isn't. So this is how to create an array, and I can type and I can add some values. Now I can just copy that from JavaScript because it's similar. So you can use commas to separate the array elements. And now what I can do is just return this array using the in, and I can click on OK. And this gives me, this is a list. PowerQuery confirms this is a list, and it goes from 1 to 5. So that's perfectly fine. We can work with that. Okay, now how do I get the length of this list? To get a length of this list, I can use a special method called array length, and that's equal to list.count. List.count, and I can put in the array, and I can now return this array length and click on OK, and it returns 5, which is of course expected. That's great. Is it expected? Let me see what I did wrong here. Yeah, it has 5 elements. Yes, exactly. I was looking at JavaScript and there were 6 elements. So let's add another element to that list. And to do that, you can use a method which I mentioned for records, but it's actually also useful for arrays. And you can do array 6 equals to list.combine. And let me specify, so array, this will be the first list, and then I can add one more element by creating yet another list, and this one will have 6, 7, 8, and I can just return this array 6 down there in after in, click on OK, and all right, so 2 arguments were passed. Let's see what I did wrong. Okay, list.combine. All right, I see it. So yeah, this is also one of the specialties. Let me show you what went wrong here. So this is the documentation for list.combine. Takes a list of lists. This is what I forgot. So takes a list of lists instead of having 2 lists separated, instead of 2 parameters, it just accepts one list with 2 lists in it. So let me just move my Chrome away and go back to my array. And what I have to do is just put around another set of curly braces. And let's see if that works. Yeah, this time it luckily does. It works. Okay, so this is how to add additional elements to a list in PowerQuery. Okay, moving on. So these were kind of the basic operations, and you can take a look at the documentation to get more information on other available functions. Now that you saw how it works, I'm sure you are able to figure the rest out for yourself. If you need some additional guidance, just let me know. I can expand this tutorial later. But for now, I would maybe like to focus on a bit more interesting things. So in JavaScript, I really often use methods of type, let's say array.filter, let's say. And array.filter takes in a single parameter, which is a function, and this function takes one parameter itself as well. And what I can do then is let me filter this array, so I only get values that are lower than 3. So to do that, I can just do f lower than lower or equals to 3. Let's see. So I'm expecting to get 1, 2, 3 out, but let's see if I'm mistaken. So console.log, and let me save that, run node, and I get 1, 2, 3. Brilliant. Okay, moving over to PowerQuery, I can do something similar. It's just there's a method for it, and it's called list.select. Instead of filter, they're using select, but yeah, no, but that's just how it's called. So array only so lower than 3, and that'll be equals to list.select, and the name of the list is array 6. This one contains elements from 1 to 8, I believe, and we can do a function. I'll do it the long way, so we can use both ways. So a function f, and then this one will be f lower or equal to 3. Let's see. Okay, fingers crossed that works. Let me click on OK, and I get elements from 1 to 3. Okay, brilliant. So what the other thing I use really often is array.map. Array.map, and as you know, in JavaScript you can use the map to do all sorts of stuff, but what map essentially does is it walks through all the elements in an array and does perform some operation operations on each of the elements. Let's say I want to multiply every element by 16, let's say. So I could do map and provide a function, and then f times 16. That should do it. If I save that and go to and run node, I get the multiplies of 16 here because I had 1 to 3 put in before. I can do something similar in PowerQuery as well. And let me use the other function syntax so you don't forget how it works. Array 16s equals to list.transform, I believe it's called. Transform, and I can use array lower than 3, and now I can use each. I hope you remember that. Each underscore times 16, and now I can remove array 16s. I can return array 16s, click on OK, and I get the same thing as in JavaScript. Okay, that was interesting. I'm realizing this tutorial is getting a bit long, so I'm stopping here for today. I was hoping we could at least focus on list.generate today, because this is one of the more interesting things I use from this API. But let me focus on that later, because we'll make good use of list.generate when we are working with data. And yeah, let's call it a day for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new. I hope that wasn't too boring. If it was, do let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully see you tomorrow. Cheers. Bye.